Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett and thank you for spending some time with me today because in this video, we're talking about some interior design ideas that are all wrong. Don't do it. I know you think you're being clever and cute, but you may be mistaken. Now, the first thing we have to talk about is materials, the placement, where we're using them and things we're doing with them. Specifically, using materials that don't belong where you are putting them. Okay, there's plenty of things we can talk about with this, and there's plenty of things that like people just come up with ideas. Okay, and I respect the creativity, but not every material is for every space. The paint that goes on your walls, not the same as what you could do on your floor. So maybe don't use that there. There's also different finishes and levels to these finishes that you have to respect, right? Like a floor is really heavily worn. Your cabinetry in your kitchen gets worn really heavily. So it's gonna need something a little bit different than what would go on your walls, right? And also some things where we have extra materials. Some people are like, oh, I have all of this extra. What should I do with it? How should I make use of it? Let's come up with something creative. Babes, put your laminate flooring down. It doesn't go on the wall. Okay, it goes on the floor. When you're doing a DIY, you want to bring an accent into a space of some sort, right? It's a different material in this area. We need to be consistent. It needs to be a reference into another space. It doesn't have to be that same finish in that space, but it has to be a reference point to it, right? So, you know, if you were going to use this new style of slatboard trim, that's very modern, right? It's kind of like the new shiplap. It can be cool if used correctly. So you use it in one space, maybe we use a little bit in another space. Maybe you find a furniture piece that has some of this in it to create that reference point to another space without having to use the same material over and over. But you do need to be mindful about consistency and make sure you're using the correct material in the correct place, and it will make more sense. Just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should. Another design idea people get in their heads when they are decorating and you know they got a bookshelf, it's empty, they say we need to fill it up, let's get some decor. I don't love decor for the sake of decor, okay? I want pieces of decor to either be art or I want them to be useful. So they need to serve a purpose of some sort other than just sitting there and looking pretty. Okay, and that doesn't mean you have to use them for anything else. It just needs to look like they could be used for something else, right? An example, this beautiful Erte statuette behind me. It is art. It is sculpture, object to art, like it is art. Okay, there is no getting around that. It is art. I'm using it as decor in a way. I'm displaying a piece of art, right? That's where that purpose comes in, it serves that. But if I use a vase, like it's sitting right next to it, that's a vase. It holds flowers, it does something, okay? It's not just a little moment, a little thing. It's like, you know, those like strings of beads. What are you doing with that? You know what, don't answer that. I don't like those. That doesn't look like it's used for something else, and what it does look like it's used for, you don't want on display. Beside the point, make sure your decor is serving an additional purpose. Your coffee table book, it's for flipping through, there's pictures, there's images, there's probably some words in there that some of us should be reading, okay? We could work on our scholastics. Beside the point, make sure your decor is serving an actual purpose, and this is a great principle to put into practice in a kitchen, in bathrooms where you don't have a lot of space for decor. We want things that serve some sort of purpose, right? In a kitchen, it can be holding utensils, the utensils themselves. It can be a beautiful appliance that you use on a regular basis. It can be a cutting board, a cookbook stand. Those are great things to have in spaces because they're actually usable and they can also be beautiful. Now, when it comes to all aspects of your home, you have to be thinking about what are the design rules, what are the principles, how can we break them, and how can we find that middle ground between what is perfectly functional and looks great? How do we work with a material that's difficult or something that doesn't work in our home and is really hard to come by, okay? And it's really hard to come up with a solution for how to decorate with. You may need a little help from a designer like me who's got all of the answers for your questions. You can get those questions answered by booking a one-on-one virtual consultation with me. You can use the link in the description box down below or go to intro.co/GarrettLeChic to have a one-on-one virtual consultation with me. You can show me around your home and I can answer your questions. Head to the link in the description box and I will see you over there. Another idea I have brought to me quite often by many clients, and every different style or aspect of design is that they want to use a darker color detail accent above something lighter. This comes into play in two areas primarily. One would be if you have some sort of like chair rail or detail on the lower half of a wall, and what do you do on the upper half? And this also comes into play in kitchens. Now, when it comes to a wall detail like that, usually I see it in a bathroom or in, you know, a more traditional home that has some sort of paneling or molding on the lower half of the wall. I say don't use something dark above something light because it creates a sense of imbalance, and it actually makes the ceiling look smaller, like it makes the space look lower when you have something heavy up top and smaller down below. If you want to say like, I have this white trim and I want to do a black paneling above it, maybe let's think about swapping that out. Let's do a darker color down below, right? That's where the ground level is. It's a grounding element. And then we do something lighter above, makes the ceilings look a little taller, a little bit more elegant in their proportions, and it's easier to visually take in and see. Now with kitchens, often it's about a two-tone cabinetry scheme. Love that. One of my favorites, okay? But a lot of people will be like, we're gonna do this color down below and then black cabinets above or a dark stain above. Typically, I would say swap that around. Let's make the upper part of the space look a little brighter, a little more open, like it's got more light flowing through it, because that's where things feel very heavy. We get the feeling of a shadow on the countertop, right? Like it's kind of dark. So using something darker lower down creates that grounding effect that then allows the upper portion of the space to feel brighter and open and airier and lighter, like we're, you know, actually able to see, not like we're in like a little cave. Okay, I love the cave fantasy for you, but let's think about that before we do it in our space. Now, you can do this, or you can do this and it can look stunning. I'm not gonna tell you it isn't. I love a color drenched space. Color drench everything in a dark, moody color. Oh, the fantasy, the vibes. Okay, but it has that cave sort of look. Think about it before you paint your ceilings black. Do you want them to look like they're lower than they are? The answer to that may be yes, or it may be no. Just make sure you're making an informed decision before you do it. Now, the opposite of that, right, using a dark thing up top and a light thing down below, would be a person that doesn't want to do any of that. They don't want that contrast at all, and they want to use all very tonal neutrals. The neutral girlies out there, I love you, I support you, I see you, and you have an ally in me. However, I am going to advise you to add a little dimension to your space, because when you do something that is the same everywhere, even if it's like all white, right, an all white space, we lose that depth of field within the space. And so it's just hard when you have all one singular color or very tonal colors. It can be really soothing and very aesthetic, but there does need to be some dimension. Now, what does that even mean? Because you're like, Garrett, you're saying this, but I don't know what you're talking about. Great, love that for you, that's why you're here. Slay. What that means is, let's get something that's a little darker in this space. Something that has more depth to the color, that will create that moment, that really brings in something substantial, something that draws our eye to it. And you can do this in a farther away area from where you enter the space to gain back that depth of field. Sometimes a darker element can make a space look bigger. And that's not to say, yes, get a black rug on the floor. Whoa, okay, like you don't have to go that far, but you know, maybe camel. That could be nice if you like beige and you like all of these like tans and softer tones, like a camel moment, a natural fiber, stunning. And the same thing goes for other spaces as well when it comes to color schemes. Adding in a bolder color or something more intense can easily add some depth of field to the space. And the opposite is true too. In a space that's very dark, adding in a brighter color can really benefit you. Bring in a little bit of personality, babes, okay? Some dimension creates character, and that creates beautiful design. Speaking of creating beautiful design, well, you found the place, you found the home of great taste, if we're being honest. So if you haven't already joined us and become a part of our GarrettLeChic family, now is the moment to do that. Take out your smartphone and scan this QR code. It will take you directly to my channel page where you can hit subscribe and turn your bell notifications on, and I'd love that for you. So be sure you join us, and no matter whether you're a part of the GarrettLeChic family now or not, which if you're not, correct your mistake, be sure you give this video a like and give it a little bit of hype to share it across the platform so somebody who needs the help can get it. Now, alongside those neutral spaces, what some people love to do is color drench. I'm a fan, I'm a supporter, you know I talk about it all the time. I love a color drenched space. However, something people like to do when it comes to color drenching is they use this sort of like minimal intention or practice. And minimalism is great until you take it too far. Color drenching is inherently minimalist, right? Because we're eliminating a lot of the contrast and color. Like you can paint your baseboards, your wall, your crown moldings, the window frames and everything in the space, the door frames, all of it. You can paint your ceiling in the same color. That is color drenching. But the problem with color drenching comes from when you're color drenching, not using any drapes. I see too many spaces where they're color drenched, but then there's no drapery. And it's kind of like when you see your friend who wears glasses and then they get contacts and you're like, I don't even recognize you. Like, what is missing from your face? Like, something is off here. What's going on? That's what you're giving me. You're giving me a person who wears glasses without the glasses. And it's weird to me. Okay, it's a little strange when I see a color drenched space with no drapery. What are you talking about? We need great drapery because it softens the space. It adds a fabric layer. When we say soften, we just mean it adds a plushness to it, right? Something that feels like we can touch it, like it's got great texture to it. We need that in the space if it's being color drenched, and you can match the color drenching to the drapery. I'm fine with that. Just give me some drapery, give me some fabric here, give me something going on the windows. You cannot color drench and not have any window treatments. And I would even say you can't color drench and use an inset window treatment either. So I wanna see something that's a little oversized, a little bigger, something softer, adding volume to the space if you're color drenching. And then we can also go in and add a little bit of dimension with either the hardware color, with the rug in the space, some of the wood tones we bring into the space, bring black into the space. That could be really cool, okay? To create that dimension and depth of field that we need when we are color drenching and using one color all over the place. But do not be caught slipping and having a color drenched space with no drapery because it looks weird. It looks really weird. Another thing people are doing, they get this design idea in their head and they run with it. And you know, sometimes it can be okay, but it's kind of a trend right now. And usually when you see it, people don't love it, is using undersized artwork. Some people will use undersized artwork intentionally. They're like, it's gotta be a little piece of art. And the problem is I have to be able to see the piece of art to understand the context of it, right? Like that is the whole point of art. Like in a museum, you usually can get up close to the art. Like that's the whole point. You want to be able to stand in front of it and look at it and see it. So a big piece of art we can be further away from because we have to be to see the whole thing. With a little piece of art, you gotta get right up into it so you can see the detail, okay? And when you use a small piece of art behind a bed, for example, we can't get close enough to see the piece of art. And that's where things become a problem, okay? So a trend right now is that people are doing like this little piece of art above a sofa, above the bed. We can't see it. We can't see the artwork and it feels small. And usually when you see someone post this, everybody in the comment section is like, yeah, but the art's too small. Yeah, but the art's too small. People inherently like well-proportioned pieces of art to the furniture piece underneath them. So we have to be mindful of that. It's always great, it's always a classic, it will always be timeless to have the appropriate sized art on the wall above a piece of furniture or what have you. Now, I really think you have to look at the proportions of the wall to determine the size of artwork and the proportions of the artwork as well. If we have a narrow space, a skinny little wall we can put art on, we would probably want to do the same thing with artwork. And I like to stack artwork. If I have like a narrow wall, typically I really want to stack it up so that I kind of get more of a vertical, a linear sort of a look to the space. We add that drama, we add a little bit of height there, and I think that's great. But if you have a really big, long wall that's kind of empty, you could do a really large square piece of art or something that is really rectangular to fill it up a little bit and create some of that dimension. Using really small pieces of artwork is great if it fits on the wall it's supposed to be on, if it's above the correct piece. A lot of those pieces of art are actually designed to have tabletop easels and be set on bookshelves so that they are small, they kind of fit there, and it's more of a presentation versus hanging them on an actual wall. So think about the size of artwork and the scale of it and the placement of it, because you don't want to have like a teeny little piece of art that nobody can see. Maybe it's your favorite, but nobody can see it. You can't even see it because it's hung up behind the bed, behind a sofa, in a spot you can't get close enough to actually view it in. Maybe it brings you joy knowing it's there and just the fact that you have it. Love that for you. But I personally would like to see it. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for hanging out with me and spending some time and going over some of the things that people just get wrong when it comes to decorating. Be sure when you're designing and decorating your house, you avoid some of these things that are already making it look dated in 2026. Let them go, leave them in the past, and move on from them. Be sure you check them out right over here, and I will see you over there.